When it comes to bear incidents, Timothy Treadwell tends to be the first one that pops into your mind. Partially because we can see a lot of the documented parts of it, and it just sticks into our head. This eccentric guy going out in the woods and being like, I'm living with the bears, and these guys are awesome, and then the bears end up, well, doing what they do and turning him into a snack rather than a friend.
Oh, God damn it! I can't believe this!
But there are plenty of other incidents that involve bears that are way worse than what happened to Timothy Treadwell. And in December of 1915, there was a very infamous brown bear incident that happened, known as the Sankebetsu bear incident. Now, when I think about Japan, I don't think about bears. And until very recently, I literally didn't even know there were bears there. But they're actually one of the biggest species of bears, or I should say subspecies of brown bear. Known as the Ussuri subspecies, they get almost as big as Kodiak bears when they're adults. I mean, even up to this day, brown bear incidents, or I should say brown bear attacks, have been on the rise in Japan and are reaching like record numbers.
This year, Japan has seen an unprecedented number of bear attacks. The country's environment ministry reports 193 of them between April and November. There were 212 victims, and 6 of those people were killed.
This incident happened in 1915 in the town of Sankebetsu. There was a bear that was spotted eating some corn, and the Akita family happened to see it while they were riding horses in the area, and the horses got spooked, and the bear ran off, and they didn't really think too much of it. But then a few days later, they saw the bear again, and at this point, they knew something had to be done. They went and got the service of 2 Matagi. I'm going to butcher all these pronunciations, just letting you know I'm trying my best here. Now, Matagi are hunters. In this particular case, they were well known for hunting bears in winter conditions. And they kind of waited around for this bear to come back, and 10 days later, it did. And when the bear was spotted, they took shots at it. They actually ended up hitting the bear, but not enough to take it down, and it ended up running off. I mean, at this point, they found a blood trail, they found a pool of blood, and then, the trail went off, and they figured, no use in going after this bear. It's been shot. It's not going to come anywhere near this village again. They figured that it was scared off enough, and the fear of humans was instilled. But this was the end of the story. I wouldn't be talking about it right now. Now, bear shot, ran off, fear of humans instilled. People went about their daily lives. It's cold. This is winter. So there shouldn't be many bears out anyway. Maybe a few remnants that haven't quite hibernated yet. But, I mean, this is pretty deep into the winter. They should be all sleeping at this point. And now this part of the story is where the bear really starts to make a name for itself. On December 9th, the Oda family was doing normal things. This was like mid-morning, probably around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. Abe Mayu, the wife in this situation, was babysitting actually, and just doing normal stuff around the house, and her husband was working on the farm, when a bear just walked into the house. Like, when you're inside your home, that is supposed to be safety. Some of these terrible things that happen, especially when it comes to animals. Like, if you're sitting inside your home, you're not expecting a bear to walk inside. But unfortunately for Abe Mayu and this infant, it's exactly what happened, and the bear just immediately charged. Not only did it immediately charge, it went right for the baby. And let's just say, we have seen, or heard, I should say, what bears can do to adults. Now imagine that to the infant. The infant was just, there's no chance. The bear grabbed the infant by the head. That's all I'm gonna say. After a few seconds, the bear turned and grabbed Abe Mayu and dragged her right out of the house into the woods. Not too long after this, the husband must have heard all the commotion and ran towards the house and inside and saw pools of blood and a missing wife. Also a dead baby. And the trail of blood led out of the cabin into the woods. Now, at this point, if it were me, I don't care if my life is at stake or not. I am running after that blood trail and trying to find my wife that's being dragged off by, I don't know at this point. So I don't know why he didn't follow. He waited until the next day when he had reinforcements. They did actually find the bear, surprisingly, even though it was the next morning, and they even shot it, but it got away again. And the search party did find a Mayu's body. It was buried under some so next to a Japanese oak tree. All that was left was the head and the limbs. The bear ate the entire body cavity. So at this point, it's very clear that this bear has a taste for human flesh. That's not good because it's winter. The bear knows these things are easy to take down and there's a lot of them. So they got reinforcements. They brought 50 more people to guard this little farm area of Oda, I don't know how to say it. And they presumed that the bear would return because they know that, okay, there's a lot of food here. I'm just going to keep on coming back. And unsurprisingly, it did return. I mean, literally the next night. In this little village, the guards were mostly surrounding the Oda farm where the bear had just attacked. And a few hundred yards away, there were other huts, other little abodes, and some villagers that were in this other farm spotted the bear. Unfortunately, there was only one guard with a gun stationed in that area. People started freaking out. The guard ended up shooting at the bear, of course completely missed. The bear then ran off and word ended up getting to the men that were surrounding the Oda farm, and they all went after this bear. They all chased it in the direction that it went and went to go track it. All but one of the 50 men went after this bear. All the villagers basically huddled in one area and there was one guard amongst them. And at this point, they're like, okay, bear was shot at, it was spotted, it ran off, and we got around 50 people with guns going after this thing. We're safe, we're good, it'll be taken care of. I mean, we're a little tense, this thing needs to go, but like, they got plenty of people after this thing, right? Now, this group of villagers were mostly women and children, people who couldn't pick up a weapon and go after this bear. And so they settled down and started making food. There was an oil lamp and the hearth that they were cooking over, and that was the only light that was in this room. And then the most ridiculous thing that you can imagine happened. The bear smashed through the window, smashed through it like the fucking Kool-Aid Man, and made its way into the house through the hole that it busted through the side. As you can imagine, the group just panicked. The meal that was being cooked fell off of the hearth and extinguished the flames. And then the oil lamp got kicked over and the room went dark. A woman that was inside named Yayo started to run away, not realizing that her son had grabbed onto her leg in panic, so she tripped over. And the bear attacked both of them, going back and forth, inflicting whatever damage it could. At this point, the guard was just the only guard there, by the way, and the only guard that was there, I'm sure, just standing there shitting his pants. The bear ended up turning to him and let Yayo and her son go. He didn't kill them, and they were able to actually run off. They were actually able to escape, and they left the house. But the guard, well, he got mauled. The guard kept on trying to find places to hide. He would hide under furniture. The bear would just barge through and just continue to attack him. Before the bear was able to finish off the guard, there were two young boys that were there. The bear turned to them and mauled them. This time he killed both of them. After he killed the two boys, he turned around to a pregnant woman and he killed her. And not only did he kill her, he started to eat her. Now, that's pretty gruesome, but if you don't really want to hear how bad it goes, just skip ahead a few seconds. As she was being eaten, the survivors said that she was pleading to the bear to eat her face and leave her belly. I don't know how successful that was, but she died and the baby died regardless. Yayo, the same woman who was attacked after tripping over her son, was able to find the group of men who had gone after the bear in the first place after they're running around like, where the hell is this thing? They can't find the bear. Let's just go turn back. And she found them on the trail and let them know what was happening. They get back to the house and they initially planned on just burning down the building with everybody inside. Then they're like, wait a second. I understand they're just women, but maybe there's some survivors. They split up the 50 men, mostly around the perimeter of the hut. They put 10 people right up front in front of the door with the guns aimed at it because that's where they suspected, the bear would come out. And they all started banging pots and pans and firing their guns and like trying to scare the bear out. And it worked. The bear came out of the house right in their line of sight. But it can't be as easy as that because the men who were in front of the door were so close together, they got in each other's line of sight and they couldn't get a clear shot off. There were multiple misfires of their guns and the rest of them missed. And the bear was able to run off. They literally had the building surrounded. The bear walked out in front of around 50 people and no one could hit the thing. This is just, I don't know. This is one of the most ridiculous stories just because of how many times this could have ended so many times. All it would take was one clear shot and they can't do that. They've even shot this thing multiple times and they still can't kill it. So at this point, with a bunch of people dead, word gets out that this bear is like a really big deal and the surrounding area, people start to find out about this thing. So at this point, it's 3 days after the first initial attack, and when word got to the town of Hobu, they actually sent out 6 snipers to get the job done. Now, when the snipers got to the Odo farm, their initial idea was to get the bodies of the deceased and put them out as a trap to lure the bear in, and the townspeople were not having that. They're like, there's no way you're using my dead pregnant wife and my unborn kid as bait. And the snipers were like, you know what? You're right, but you're wrong. We're doing it. And they literally, that's what they did. Gotta remember, this is 1915. Whatever it took to get the job done is what they did. And also at this point, more people arrived to help. So there was a total of 60 men that were able to look for this bear and they began search parties. They patrolled the forest. At one point, the bear was spotted going through another farm's store of food. And on December 13th, it was dark and a patrol that was crossing over a nearby bridge saw a shadow move in the distance. And they called out to it and the shadow did not say anything. It didn't answer their call. So they shot at the shadow and the shadow ran off. They went over to where the shadow was and they noticed blood on the ground. So they actually hit it this time. Well, for the third time they hit it. They began instantly tracking down the bear. They ran after. I mean, they shot at a shadow. They were very lucky that it wasn't just like a guy who was like, didn't hear them. But regardless, they tracked it down. And again, underneath a Japanese oak tree, the bear was spotted just sitting there. They got up to 20 yards away from this thing and shot it once in the heart and once in the head, finally ending the bear's reign of terror. Now, that is the basics of this story, and there's a few more details that I didn't add during the initial part of it because it's kinda hearsay. One of them being that this bear had also killed more people, and the bear, they called it Kesagake. Now, they had tried to recruit other people to hunt down a bear, but one of the main hunters decided not to because he quit hunting bears altogether because 3 people had been killed and one of them was his wife. And they say that it's the same bear, but from everything I've seen, I don't really see much evidence to show that they are the exact same bear. It could have been another incident. There's also a theory that there are 3 separate bears that did these attacks. So all of these things put together, they call this bear Kesagake. They believe it's the same one that also killed 3 more people on a different incident. I mean, it could be, but I don't know for sure. So I didn't add that as part of the story because we know what happened in these few incidents and everything else is just putting it out there, possibly, maybe. Now, the crazy thing is after all this happened, the villagers, they were done with living in this area and eventually they all moved out and they all have their own stories as well. They recreated the incident by putting a life-size model of this bear. I didn't mention, this bear was 9 feet tall and 750 pounds. This thing was just a freaking beast. And they even have, like, it's not a theme park, but it's a recreation of the event. There's a bear, a statue of a bear, coming through a window of this house, like in the exact manner it did. Just gruesome and kind of crazy and just kind of awesome. I mean, there's a reason why I thought this story was incredible, and I had no idea how I hadn't heard of it before. And they also have a life-size recreation of the bear standing next to a fence right next to the side of a hut. It's literally almost as tall as their homes. An incredible, disturbing, just how have I never heard about this type story. And that is the Sankebetsu bear incident. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. If you have a story in your mind that you would like me to go over, let me know down below. I will do my best to try to make that video. I'll see you on the next one.